press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to Highway on my podcast with Rocky, Mayur and Abhinandan.
We're back!
We're hungry!
And we are going over a speed breaker, as Rocky's voice suggested, on Highway on my podcast with the two biggest men in Indian food and travel, Rocky and Mayur. And Bird has also joined us on this podcast. You can identify by its call. We also have with us director, producer extraordinaire Prashant Sareen,
Hi.
who traveled all across India on many shoots with Prashant, with Rocky, Mayur and the crew, shooting many an exciting show. And my name is Abhinandan Sekhri. At least I got that right for a change. And today we will be taking you on the most amazing drive across Maharashtra, which is packed with so much food, fun and fantastic experiences that we will not be able to fit it all into one episode. So पहले हम माफी मांग रहे हैं भाई लोग, जो मिस हो जाए, we will come back to it. But ये 1-1.5 घंटे में हमें खत्म करना पड़ता है. So boys, should I rattle off all the cities you went to and then you guys can choose which one you want to start with?
Done.
Kolhapur, Damani, Deolapur, Kudal, Mahabaleshwar, Pune, Valsad, Panvel, Mumbai, Sangamer, Lonavala, Murud, Alibag, Ratnagiri, Chiplun, Thane, Kamse, Nasarpur, Baramati, Narayangaon, Nagpur, Sangamer, New Ahmedabad.
You're sounding like like the first day, the conductor on who's like it's his first day on the job.
Listen, मैं ये बोलता हूँ मेरे भाइयों, let the gates of Shaniwar Vada open and let the hordes and the armies of the Marathas charge again and let us take it as it comes. Who cares where we go first?
घोड़े चने खाते हैं, घोड़े वाले चने तो हम महाबलेश्वर भी जा सकते हैं, जहां हमने बड़े वाले स्पेशल वाले चने भी खाए थे. और Rocky stayed in the best room of his life, a room he will never forget.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
None of us will forget.
None of us will. Also, you won't forget it for another reason, like as we were loading the car.
So, well, let's do the story then. Let's go to Mahabaleshwar.
We started this place only.
Why not?
Why not? Okay.
Let us start when the marching army of the cavalry, the Marathas, reached the highest point of Mahabaleshwar. It was a cold and windy evening. There was thunder in the sky and water all over the place. And we reached a magnificent hotel late at night. And slowly the door opened. राम राम छोटे मालिक, यहाँ पे कई 100 साल से कोई नहीं आया, आप हमारे पहले गेस्ट हो.
I still remember the name of the hotel, by the way. It was called Hotel Regency. And I was thinking, first time we are going to like a hill station. They have these quaint, beautiful places to stay in. अच्छी जगह पे रहेंगे पहली दफा. And then we landed up there.
Remember the drive up to Mahabaleshwar was beautiful, those winding roads. Then we stopped at one place. We had really hot bhuttas. They call them the Maharashtra Mawa. We had the bhuttas, and Rocky had that stick insect that he found. He had it on his thing. And we would
Quaint insect. It was a stick insect, man. It was like 1.5 feet long, from my elbow to the tip of my finger. Magnificent, monstrous insect. And it was fascinating because we were all playing with it while eating bhuttas for about half an hour.
That half an hour cost us because by the time we got to the hotel, it was raining, it was damp, it was night. And when we got there, it was a miserable hotel with damp sheets.
Yes, because we, as always, went to the best places at the worst times possible. So our producer picked to go to Mahabaleshwar at the rainiest time ever possible.
क्योंकि इतने beautiful waterfall shots मिली, अब कब मिलेंगी वो? And there, after a very disturbing night, we went out to shoot.
Disturbing night? You had a disturbing night. I had a disturbing night. I had to call for acid and bleach and soap and wash my bathroom for 1.5 hours before I agreed to use it. It was the dirtiest bathroom I'd ever stayed in. So
Proud of you. He says, first learn to clean the loo, then think of cleaning the country. So you have step 1.
I've got to step 2 also. I just haven't picked up my broom yet. Like I told you.
I just remember that Niku and I were sharing the room and we were so tired. We just found the little sliver of like 3 inches on the edge of the sheet on either side of the bed, which was clean. And we just sort of just lay there in that pose for that whole night. And in the morning, I actually stood by the pot and I shat into the pot.
Too much information.
Too much
information. The next morning after disturbing
Hang on. At least you can talk about this sleeping on the slivers. We had no such option. So I was tired. I was passing out and I looked over. Rocky went to sleep. He's like, I'll sleep in my clothes that I've worn through the day because they're still much cleaner than the bed. He crossed his arms. He put his one bag under his head so he wouldn't have to touch it. And the other bag, he went to sleep with. He's like, this room is so dirty, I won't even let my bag down. And that's how he slept the whole night, holding his bag and like not moving at all.
Yes, and I put my arms inside my jacket and I zipped it up so it was like a straight jacket. So even my arms wouldn't fall on the side when I was asleep.
कुछ तो तेरे बारे में straight है टेढ़े.
है ना?
But the next morning, and now we need to get out and show the comfortable and good side. Our audience will be thinking, "ये क्या यार ये साले रहते हैं अपने." So as we were loading up the car, Mayur decided to lift the spirits of the crew and the camera people and the drivers and anybody in the street who cared to be walking by saying, Abhi, we are going already. But the only thing was when he looked out the window and he was standing on the balcony, he did not have any clothes on, like not a thread. He said, Mayur, yeah, we will go, but not like that. Abhi, kapde pehen ke aaya. Maine kaha, please, thanks.
I can. That is a sight that nobody will ever forget in Mahabaleshwar. It is imprinted in the memory of many a school-going child and families who are going to drop their children. No, I'm just kidding. There was nobody on the road. Only our crew and drivers, and Mayur, of course, in all his splendor, stood by the window like a phoenix rising from the ashes with his arms spread.
I was really excited about the chanas because after that we went to this really nice place.
And
Small place, Dada
on a very foggy morning. Yeah.
Dada Chanawala, and was the perfect thing to have hot. He was roasting those chanas hot, and we were really surprised to learn that the famous Mahabaleshwar chanas actually come from UP. And then he roasted them, and then he told us this whole story that how he'd been there. And then right next to him there was a Mama Chanawala who also had all these fresh berry preserves and stuff. Do you remember? Rocky bought a whole bunch of them.
yeah,
Blackberry, raspberry.
A typical hill shop, basically,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
lots of chocolates and jams and cookies and all.
we did a full sequence of those jams and preserves with bread, but outside because the shop didn't have a place to sit.
Correct.
So we bought all those preserves, we came out, and then on the street, we like opened them, put them on bread and buns and ate those. So yeah, it's a great place for a drive. It's got some beautiful waterfalls, man, if you're driving up at the right time. And it's really misty, but make sure you get there in the day. So if your hotel isn't okay, you could change it.
Yeah, and remember that in off-season, nothing works in that town, including the hotels, restaurants. Nothing was open. So we just went there, got waterfall shots, stayed the night, cursed everybody out, and left the next morning.
So now let's go to a place where there was so much that we will clearly leave a lot of things out, is Pune. Now, Pune, we've been to several times for several shows and several shoots, but we will not be able to pack all of the stuff that we've done there in. But like Prashant had said, let's start with the one place Pune is known for. Prashant, please tell us about the Kayani Bakery and how much weight you put on because of those butter cookies.
I tell you. So before we went to Pune, it was at least about 10 years before we went on this trip to Pune that I had first come across Kayani Bakery cookies. A gentleman who I used to work with, he was from Bombay and he used to get these from Pune or from Bombay. He would buy them and he would bring these. And they were just beautiful. They're just great. Absolutely. They have ginger cookies and they have these butter cookies. And you open that box and that rich smell hits you and just takes you into another world. You can't stop eating those things when you start. So, Kayani Bakery, and to go behind the counter to the place where they would actually make the dough and, bake the cookies it was one of the most delightful moments of my entire, sort of travels on Highway on My Plate.
Yeah, and we were sort of speaking to Rustam. So Rustam and Parvez are the two guys who run it.
Rustam is the son. He was a younger guy.
No,
Yeah.
so it was Parvez's father and Rustam's grandfather who started this together, and now they were running it. He was called Roz. He had a music band and stuff.
Yeah, it was very cool. But we went inside, and it used to be an Italian dance hall, and there were beautiful marble flooring on the inside the kitchen. It was spectacular kitchen, and we said, "Listen, what is the secret of the taste of the Shrewsbury biscuits here? Because his Shrewsbury biscuits are like just famous all over the world." And he was like, "Are kya secret hai? Ek hi secret hai hamara." I said, "What?" "Hum sab cheez mein mashka lagate, mashka." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Bas mashka, extra mashka lagane ka." full taste. So I was like, that's your secret? He was like, yeah. I was like, you're not telling me, no. He was like, whenever problem, no, you put mashka is best. So now you know the secret.
But that kitchen, it smelled like heaven. It was remarkably clean. I tell you, we've been to a lot of kitchens, and like I told you about the Morena Gajak, it's world famous. But watching just someone make it may make you think twice. I had a remarkably clean kitchen, and it smells of heaven. And like Prashant said, it's an ancient hall. Although I don't know if it's still there. I read in the paper a few years ago that they were planning to demolish that, or it was being taken over by the cantonment. Because that's all cantonment area, right? And technically the cantonment, it was a lease and the lease was expiring. And I remember an article in the paper saying that they can't possibly take back Kayani Bakery. Does anyone know what happened?
I think up till 2 years back, it was still there because that was around the last time that Rocky and I visited. So I hope it's still there. And I've been there like 10, 12 times. And you guys have collectively been. Has anybody ever been to Kayani Bakery at a time where you can just walk in, ask for something and walk out?
Never. Always a line. And stuff
Always
is
at the back of a very long line, no matter what time you go, when it happens. And then everybody's like putting their hands up, trying to get the attention of the people behind to like serve you. Once you get the order, then they serve pretty fast. And they were very generous with us. Remember, we bought, how much did we bought? We walked out carrying like 20, 30 kilos of cookies.
Yeah. I remember, and we were eating all along there's another story in that. I mean, we carried those cookies all the way, down to Udupi. That was the schedule that we were going to Udupi in that schedule. And I remember that when I was driving back, I was carrying all of those boxes. And I got stopped on the border of Karnataka and Goa. And the cops wanted to know why the hell I was carrying so many cookies. And they went about smelling the boxes. But that's another story. But I remember the location. It had a cinema right opposite, right? It was called Victory or something like that. And it was... because it's in the cantonment, and it was I think it's still there. It hasn't moved.
I know there's a lot of reconstruction and stuff has happened. Maybe some of our listeners who are listening to us from Pune can tell us, is it still there? Army take back much of that property? What really happened to that?
No, I think it's still there. Yeah. Mayur and I went there about 2 years ago and we bought a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we would have heard if it had shut down. It's one of the big landmarks of food in India. I mean, it's one of the most famous bakeries. And the great part is, that sort of just highlights the contribution of the Parsi community to food in India, especially. I mean, in the region of Bombay, Pune, they really dominated the food scene at one point because quality was so good. And, great hygiene, very innovative food, great food, very popular food. So, you always, whenever I think of these places like Dorabji and Sons or Kayani Bakery or, any of Cafe Mondega or any of these places, or Britannia and Company, I always think of what a great contribution these very small number of people have made to the food scene of Mumbai, Maharashtra and India by and large.
Yep. And Kayani Bakery, if you guys know anyone going to Pune or coming from Pune, tell them to get you a couple of boxes, because if you just get one, then you'll say, shit, I should have asked for more. It is the most delicious biscuit. It's the only thing that when we had the dabba opened, I would put my Britannia cakes aside and I would have those brilliant cookies.
Muska. By far the most tasty cookies you can find in India. I mean, of any kind.
But that's not all Pune had. We also had all sorts of good Marathi delicacies there. So Mayur, please remind us some of the authentic local cuisine that they gave us. I know we've had misal pav and all everywhere. We'll talk about that when you go to Kolhapur. We didn't have the that food that was just most amazing. Was that in Pune, by the way, Mayur?
Which one? We went to Dorabji's, which Rocky mentioned in passing, which has been around since 1878. And do you remember? Did we do that on another show, or did we do that? I think we did that on Highway on My Plate also. We went to Dorabji, a really, really old place, narrow place. He does this beautiful biryani with like he cooks it in a giant patila, and then he puts the coal and stuff, cooks it from on top. Did we ever do that?
I think that must be on the Posh show, not on our show.
Yeah, it was on a show where people treat us like human beings and give us decent hotels to sleep in. No, but whatever it was, I mean, Dorabji and Sons is an absolutely incredible place. And I think one of the reasons why these places are so good is because the owners have always spent their honest, hard-working hours at the restaurant itself. So they assure the quality by the owners sitting behind the till, and they're always there. I mean, they're always taking care of the food and the quality and the guests and the hygiene and the cleanliness and the service. And, that is why these eateries have lasted over a century in India.
In fact, speaking of owners being there, we will tell you the story when we get to Bombay of how the old man at Britannia gave us a nice scolding. That was a delightful scolding. But
the owner at Dorabji is young Darius. He's a friend of ours, and he is he's a fantastic guy, and he does a really, really good job, and he really keeps up the traditions. And in fact, he's got all these old menus up in the restaurant, which is really nice because you can go and you can see brain curry 1 anna and chicken farcha 10 paise.
from back then, the menus from back then.
Old menus from the 1940s. He's got like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So it's quite incredible.
Have you guys on? I don't think so. When we were traveling through Pune, we did that. But have you gone and had the Pune's Mastani?
No.
You know about the Pune Mastani? That's like the drink.
Is this the drink? I think Rocky and I have had it.
It's the drink that really defines Pune. Yeah, it's got milk and it's got ice cream. It's got fresh fruit. It's just. I mean, I thought
yeah.
Bajirao Mastani, but it has nothing to do with Bajirao Mastani.
We had it at a place with that.
Yeah, and one of the many places where you can get this, and it's a real favorite of the Punekars. And one of the place that I went to for this Mastani was Sujata Mastani. And it just so happened that the person I was meeting there, her name was also Sujata. So I said, yeah, what a funny name.
What's the last name? Mastani also?
Sujata Mastani. I was like, ye kya ho raha hai yaar? But when I got there, Sujata Mastani was the shop, which is very famous for its Mastani. And Sujata was a lady who was showing me around Pune. And then we had the Mastani, and that's Sujata Mastani. So this was on the posh show.
Yeah, I don't really like that. I didn't like the Mastani that much. I mean, I don't know if Mayur liked it or not, but he'll tell you. But what I did love about all of Pune are those sodas. Yeah, all those soda shops they have, where they give you like 50 flavors of soda. You can take your pick. Not the banta. It's like a paper cup, yeah. And there are like these fountains of different flavors.
Yeah.
And you just give the guy $10 and he'll give you like mango or whiskey or beer or kala khatta.
Of one of these also, I remember that.
Yeah, we shot a sequence there and it was just fabulous. I still love those, man. I have like 3 or 4 every time I pass one of those shops.
Okay, pardon
right?
If I'm getting the city wrong. Was Sahuji in Pune or am I?
No, Sahuji was Nagpur.
Sahuji is Nagpur.
We must go there next because that is one of my favorite meals across all our travels here. So, but what else in Pune before we head to Pune?
Bedikar misal pav, Katakir misal pav. I mean, yes, we can talk about it in Kolhapur also, but the Pune misal pav is a very powerful animal, and we went to that lovely place, very small place. Do you remember Bedikar misal pav?
Yeah, I remember Bedikar, but I think the best misal pav that we had was that place in Kolhapur, where people were getting batches of 100, tak, where the lines were forming bloody before he even started serving.
Yeah. But Bedikar misal pav, why I feel very special. I remember he was telling us there was a guy who'd been coming there for 50 years, Panduram. So now every time he goes there, he gets his misal pav free.
Wow.
He had frequent flyer programs way back 10, 50 years ago.
Yeah, and the great thing about things like misal is it's just a wonderful snack. And instead of pav, they do a misal and double. So give you bread and add Bedikar. But it is, it's a complex thing. It's got everything that the Marathi palate really synchronizes to. I mean, it's salty, it's sweet, it's sharp, it's chili, it's oily, it's light with all the ingredients of the muri and the save, but it's heavy with the oil, and so it's got all these contradictions of food. It's got like all the 6 flavors that you'd want in there, and then it is just a magnificent bite. Yeah, the flavor just knocks your head off, man, when you take a bite.
Muh mein pani aa gaya, muh mein pani. Seriously, remember it.
Oof.
If you stop, then you feel the bite of the chili. So you have to keep eating.
Yeah.
You don't feel the bite.
Yeah, so, and Bedikar, Bedikar is good, and we thought it was spicy, but there is a new kid on the block called Katakir, and they're a few years old. And Katakir has they have a choice of either regular misal pav, which will burn the hair off your head and make you blind and your lips will fall out, or it has the really spicy one, which you can't even taste because when you take a bite, it just falls through the hole, it burns in your stomach and comes out. I mean, it makes a man out of you. I'd gone with my cousin. She's my youngest aunt's daughter. She's
That's how much of a man it makes out of you.
She was 13 years old, and both of us ordered the extra spicy one, and she was like, "Let it be. I don't think you can hack it." And I was like, "Arey, dekh na tu." And of course, I had 2 bites, and I was lying on the ground crying while she was sipping hers casually, like it's a tea or something. So never mess with the Punekar's ability to eat spice. I was quite impressed with her.
We've traveled so much through India and ate at so many places. I think one thing that really always sort of brought home to, to me at least, that, my God, we've been to this place also and to that place also, was when something really bad happened at those places. And I remember when we had gone to the German bakery in Koregaon. And then just a couple of months, I think 2 or 3 months after that, there was a bomb blast there, right? And I think there were some casualties and all also there.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And so, there's so many such places that we've been to which have been targeted by terrorists. And it was always like, it's very shocking when you've been to a place and you know where you sat, and then you see pictures of that. Oh my God, we were sitting just right there on the next table. That memory still doesn't leave me, because I was really in shock when I heard about this bomb blast.
Fantastic breakfast at German bakery, man. That was a really satisfying.
It was a really good breakfast. What omelets we had there.
You get
fantastic.
Rocky, of crispy bacon fried to the perfection that you want.
There are all these people who come, from all over the world to go down to the ashram and meditate and all that stuff. And then to be able to get the food that they're sort of used to, they come down to German bakery, which offers a huge amount of variety. I mean, it was a really, really good place. It is a really good place. We've been back to the new place also now, and it had this very quaint old charm about it. There were some really nice, happy waiters, and service was great, and the food was fantastic. And then, of course, this tragedy happened, and they redid the place, and then we went back, and it's become really nice again. But it's a little more commercial than it used to be. It used to be like a really cool hippie hangout joint.
It was so laid back when you went. It was like very chill.
Very chill.
Yeah, it was like a hippie joint, with these peace signs all over the wall and all. Now, of course, it's very trendy and it's very new, and it's still very good. But it's it's sort of a little piece of the old world gone and the new world.
The waiters were really trendy. I remember one guy had really nice fair mustache. It was like this long, drawn out affair along his upper lip.
I was serving you guys. एक omelette लाना, एक boiled egg. जी साहब. But okay, Mayur now.
Hey भाई, हमारा breakfast ही आया 20 मिनट हो गए. हाँ, तो आपने क्या कहा था? ये आम लाना, लेकिन लेट लाना, आमलेट. निकालो इसको यहाँ से. कौन है ये?
इन भद्दे जोकों से अगर आपका पेट भर गया है तो मयूर हमें ले जाएंगे नागपुर था ना वो.
नागपुर से पहले मेरे को याद है कि मयूर अपने ब्रेकफास्ट के सामने बैठा हुआ था 40 मिनट तक, लेकिन कुछ नहीं हो रहा था वहां पे. ऐसे क्या कर रहा है? इसे मैंने फ्रूट बोल ऑर्डर किया था, लेकिन ये बोल ही नहीं रहा. बहुत देर हो गई है सुनते हुए.
But guys, one thing I'll tell you, when we got off the national highway, I don't know where we were going, which city to which city, we came across one of the most beautiful state highways. There was mist. There was this dhaba, and there was this little lake, and there was this mist. Remember, we've got photographs of that, which we'll put in the newsletter.
It was called the Ankur Lakeview Dhaba.
Ankur Lakeview, and it was.
We were going from Valsad to Nasik.
I don't know if the highway is still like that. It is an idyllic place, and I told Rocky, remember, why don't you guys walk? We'll take a shot from here. Then you sit down by the lake, and we'll get a silhouette shot. Rocky again looked at me. And we are not a couple yet. We are romantic shots.
That is something we should clear for all of you out there. Once and for all. Mayur and I are not a couple. He is like my younger brother. We have a very sibling sort of pure relationship. Every Rakhi, he ties Rakhi on my hand. And just because he is pretty, don't confuse him for my girlfriend.
It was a lovely dhaba, but the food wasn't great, but it's a beautiful highway. Maharashtra has some amazing state highways that go through really lush forests.
The paddy fields along that highway was so beautiful because it was an undulating landscape, and you had paddy fields on either side of this road.
Yeah, and again, it was setting. It was the rainy season. You have to remember, a lot of India, which is like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, a lot of these areas are, after the rains or during the rains, they just turn into lush, green, verdant, sort of carpeted areas with plants everywhere.
Unreal.
And we had gone there in peak rainfall when they were planting the rice, and the fields were full of water. And this guy who was there, I mean, the whole place was like a magic landscape here, flowers and greenery everywhere. And we met this guy, which is very typical of a lot of guys, again, in these regions who sort of come back from abroad with a lot of money to start a dhaba and, live out their life in some quiet, cozy, cool corner of the world. And he was there. He was a big fan of Amitabh Bachchan. His hair was styled like Amitabh Bachchan. He was wearing bell bottoms and a jacket like Amitabh Bachchan. I don't know if you guys remember meeting him.
Oh, no.
And he was very cool. And he, of course, he knew Amitabh Bachchan dialogues, but he was like, "Mera ek khwaab hai कि एक दिन बच्चन साहब यहाँ आएंगे और हम बैठ के चाय पिएंगे यहाँ पे."
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
What a
Yeah,
khwaab.
right. I remember that. I remember that now.
But let's head to Nagpur, and one of my favorite meals, if I may, there is something called Sahuji food, which I didn't even know of till we got there. And I met, when Mr. Fadnavis was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, I met one of his OSDs at some conference. And I told him, I said, you know what, guys, the biggest export of Maharashtra should be bloody this Sahuji food. Yeah, I didn't even know it.
Not Sahu, it's Sauji.
Saoji. Saoji.
Sahuji food. So if any of you have an opportunity to go to a Sahuji restaurant, check it out. And if any of you work for the government of Maharashtra, like the Assam Bhavan here in Delhi started a Paradise Ka branch here, or the Andhra Bhavan is famous for its food. Everyone in Delhi at some point will go to Andhra Bhavan for a lunch, for their buffet or whatever they call it, the thali. You have to start a Sahuji restaurant in different parts of the country.
No, my vote is for it, man. I mean, Sahuji is a magnificent cuisine, and there are so many stories of why it is as spicy as it is. And one story is that it belongs to a very impoverished section of society where they didn't have enough money, so they would put so much chili in their food that children would take a bite and they'd eat it with roti, and they eat very little because it was so spicy, and they drink a lot of water. That, however, is a myth, but it's just one of those stories. But whatever the reason is, the fact is that the food has so much chili and so much spice that the color of every meat, and it's predominantly a non-vegetarian cuisine, becomes black in color upon cooking here. And when we went behind and we saw this lady preparing chicken, I mean, she was like, "ये 1 kilo chicken डालेंगे और इसके अंदर आधा किलो लाल मिर्ची." And I was like, "Ah!"
Yeah, the whole family was cooking.
Yeah.
The whole family was involved in that.
We've been to 2 or 3 Saudi restaurants after that in Nagpur, because Rocky and I have been back up them. All of them, it's the same thing. The men are outside taking the orders or taking the money and all. But the women run the kitchen with an iron hand. The men are not even have to really ask permission before they go in there. And it's all women doing all the prep.
Yeah, fantastic photographs from the kitchen. In fact,
Yeah, we took a group photo also.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the pictures right now. There's this lovely picture of these little meats. So why I like it so much is that while misal and all also has a lot of spice, having a lot of spice with meat is amazing. And the mutton there was to die for. And they have a really elaborate menu. It's not like 5 things on their menu. Their menu had like 25, 30 things. So that was one of my favorite meals, and it was in Nagpur, which also has the center of the country, right?
Yeah.
What was
The 0 point.
that? Was the center of the country,
The
right?
geographic center of India is in Nagpur. We got photos of that too. We went there and we did a piece to camera.
We have a photograph there. And Nagpur is famous for its orange, other than the saffron, which is where the RSS headquarters is.
Yeah.
But we have oranges, orange barfi. There was orange coming out of everywhere, man.
Orange son papdi, orange barfi. I bought a ton of that, I remember, to carry back home.
Yeah. In fact, how the name came about was Amir Khan and Saif Ali Khan had gone there once, and Amir fell down, and everybody said, "Saif, run, Saif, run." And that's how it became very...
Someone stop this guy.
Stop making me tell these bad jokes here. But if you ever go to Nagpur, get the orange barfi. It is a very unique beast. It's not the barfi as you know it in the traditional sense. And my absolute favorite is the orange son papdi. And if you haven't eaten the orange son papdi of Nagpur, you have not really been able to experience what is amongst the best flavors of Indian sweets. Because the orange son papdi, according to me, is just one incredibly brilliant taste from Nagpur. It has to be tried.
It's son papdi that tastes of orange.
Oof. It's not that simple. I mean, big, mota it is, yes. Like Sujata is, Sujata is a girl you're meeting in Sujata.
Nagpur was a nice town, yeah. Open, not crowded like the other cities in Maharashtra. It was one of the more quiet big towns.
Well, now it's getting quite crowded because Rocky and I, like I said, we've been recently. We went for a literature festival. We went, I think, one time before that also. It's gotten a lot more crowded. It's also got some now new interesting formats of restaurants coming out. We actually went to a pub which had all pub bar kind of food and some draft beer. One of my favorite coffee roasters in this country, Prashant, you'll love this, is based out of Nagpur. There's a guy called Corridor 7 Coffee Roasters.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Corridor, as in
Corridor.
Hindi में corridor को क्या बोलते हैं?
Prashant, THAT.
Achha.
You will say, how do you spell that? It's THAT.
So on that note, we're going to be heading into Mumbai, boys. But Mumbai is going to take a while, so we can't talk about all the places we visited in Mumbai because probably other than Amritsar, Bangalore, Delhi, and a few other places, Mumbai is the place that we've shot at most often. But before that, I had a couple of emails I'd like to read. Let me just read this one first. This is Sai Kirit Patri. Sai says, "Hi, Rocky, Mayur, Prashant, and Abhinandan. Firstly, thanks for continuing the awesome podcast, which is both nostalgic and informative. I'm keeping a note of all the places I need to visit whenever I'm driving down the highways across India again. It was really nice of you guys to read out my mail in one of the early episodes. You can count me as an NRI type contributor once you get the show on the road again. Great NRI type contributor. We will remember. Thank you. Spread the word to your friends, and thanks so much for your interest and support. In the last episode, Rocky mentioned Puran Singh Dhaba and a tagline, meet me anywhere but eat me at. I would like to point out that to the best of my knowledge, that tagline belongs to Deluxe Dhaba, including the big murga painted on the hoarding. Being a thoroughbred froggy brat like Rocky and Abhinandan, I have lived in Ambala Cant for a few years and know the place like the back of my hand. Deluxe Dhaba was the weekend dinner destination of many Fauji families, even till the late 90s. The only restaurant in Ambala Cant which had air conditioning. And Sai has also actually sent a picture of that. Nice. Thanks, Sai. I know I might come across as pedantic and you may not even read this out in the podcast, but since you guys read all the mails, it makes me happy enough that I have put my point across. Lots of love from Munich. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep doing an awesome job, Kirit. Hey, Kirit. Sure, man. I mean, I don't have such a memory like you and Rocky, but you're probably right after having visited over a couple of thousand places. It's possible that sign was Ambala mein Keda Deluxe Dhaba.
Or it was chapeaued by like all the Puran Singh Dhabas because there were like 18 of them there. So maybe one of them said कि अब नाम तो पुरन सिंह का ले लिया और यहाँ से कुछ ले नहीं सकते, चलो साइन जो है वो बगल वाले से ले लेते हैं. So,
yeah, there's no hard and fast over here, man. In India, everything that works is, flies.
I mean, if it works, then it should be used by others. Yeah, it's okay. We don't believe in copyright. ये क्या intellectual property?
So it keeps happening. Like we went to Tony Paji's place before we reached Bombay. If we do Tony the Dhaba, I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah.
Tony the Dhaba. How can we not do Tony the Dhaba? That is only, and we have a very interesting story of Tony Paji's salesmanship and his skills as a salesman.
So he had a sign that said
Master and Visa accepted and Arabian Nights with hookah.
Yeah, that too. And he had a big sign outside that said, "Ye emo kya hai?" And I was like, "What is this?" So he said, "ये बड़ी अच्छी picture थी, उसका मेरे को line बड़ी अच्छी लगी है, इलू क्या है?" तो मैंने emo क्या है लिख दिया. So who chapeaued whose line, we'll never know. But that line used to be at once upon a time. It used to be at Puran Singh also.
I'd like to move on to Bombay lads. So be frugal with what you choose to tell us about. Bombay driving is not a pleasure like it is in much of Maharashtra. Most of you already know that. It is the most painful drive anywhere. In fact, some of the shoots there have to be scheduled depending on where you will be. अच्छा कोलाबा में shoot करना है तो 2 रातें कोलाबा में काटते हैं. Town में shoot कर लेंगे. Then we will move bag and baggage to Juhu. फिर 2 दिन वहाँ पर shoot करेंगे. So that's how it is. So should we start with town and the legendary Britannia, where the gentleman passed away, I think just earlier this year, and there were so many articles that were written about him.
The gentleman that we met, the one that scolded us, and I think there were 2 brothers, but his name was Bowman Kohinoor. And then I think he had an elder brother also. Now the son runs it. But when we were there, he was there.
Yeah, Bowman sadly passed away a few months ago, and he's not with us anymore. But what a character he was. I mean, he loved that place. It was in his blood, and that's all he could talk of. How it was easier to get a license from the government pre-independence if you had Britannia in your name, and that's why the name was Britannia and Company. How his family brought chairs from Italy that were done in the dining hall style that he put all over the place, and still the chairs there are still the same ones. The decor, how it changed, how culture changed, how people used to come and they were so classy, and how smoking was allowed inside. And he was just full of stories. And the king came over. I mean, one of the princes came over. I don't know which one it was, but so he just had so much history. He was like a bit of living history of Mumbai. And again, he was very strict on lines outside. So he would get out and scold people who were jumping line or not being in line. And he loved that berry pulao that they made. Yeah, that was one of the most popular items on the menu there at Britannia and Company, was the berry pulao. And what a nice guy. He was a great guy. Soul of the place.
He was a great guy until you were sitting at the table waiting for a friend who was late. And then he would walk up to you and say that this is not a waiting room. Please wait outside. When your friend comes, you can come back in. So he would throw people out.
Fair enough, yeah.
as Prashant said, I remember I was very in an agitated state, which is my usual state when I'm directing. Was trying to like figure out where the camera will be because this is a packed place. It is very popular, and I was standing in front of his counter where he sits in his typical Baba get up with his specs and his Baba topi and all that. And I was probably blocking his view or blocking the line. Hey, क्या कर रहा है तुम? So I said, shot ले रहे हैं. यहाँ से shot ले रहा है क्या? या पूरा मेरा ब्लॉक हो रहा है. बाहर निकलो. चलो निकलो. I was like, what a rude man, yeah. That was the kind of guy he was.
He was.
But when we sat and ate, and then he came into the interview. If I remember correctly, he also fed one of you with his hand, right? With a spoon?
No.
No.
He loved the British royalty.
And he had this whole album. Do you recall? He pulled out this whole album with these paper cuttings that he had from years back.
I don't know, once he sat down, it was difficult to then stop. Then he was overly like enthused after having bloody scolded me and told him to fuck off. I remember that he just was not leaving after that.
No, he was a storyteller. I mean, like when he sat down, and he would go from table to table,
Correct.
and he would talk to all his guests. They were all regulars, so he knew them. And he would have a little word with them. He would take their order, pass on their order. He was so energetic. And I just loved that place because it was, you remember they had rice sacks just stacked on the side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in this large hall, which is like the main dining hall, they have rice sacks stacked along the side.
There was stories. There was story to his furniture. There was story to even the marble or the granite that was used. And also there was this big clock, grandfather clock on the, when you walk in on the right. It was an original clock from, I don't know, whenever pre-independence.
And he very proudly told us that he still got his berries from Iran.
Yeah.
And then, of course, so you could have a raspberry drink here over there. The raspberry.
Oh, Rustamji.
Fizzy raspberry. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Which was so sort of, I mean, it was like, it's a moment in time. I mean, it's been unchanged for so many decades. I remember when I was a kid and when I was in Bombay, I still remember having those drinks. Especially, and and then again after 40 years, I was having the same drink in the same place. Nothing had changed. It's so beautiful to be there.
So Bombay, we've done Bade Mian, Gajali, Haji Ali, the Kailash Parvat, the Cafe Mondiga. We've done the whole thing. So the ones that most of you who have been in Bombay or have ever traveled to Bombay clearly probably know about, which is the Mondigas and the Bade Mians and the Gajalis. Bade Mian, well, for me, was a bit overrated. I mean, when it comes to kebabs, if you're from Delhi, I went to Bade Mian.
Absolutely right.
Like this is like a regular kebab in Delhi, man. But which one would you like to talk about? Because this is a seafood lover's delight, and Prashant and Rocky, you guys are the seafood lovers. So why don't you pick one of these places and talk about it? Then you can pick his veggie delight.
Bombay duck was fantastic. I remember that.
If you want to have good kebabs in Bombay, the best, I think, are at ITC Maratha. It's a fancy place. It's a 5-star, but that Peshawari, it is just some really nice kebabs. I mean, I felt the most comfortable and felt right at home eating the kebabs at ITC Maratha in Mumbai. So they're just absolutely brilliant. And of course, you can have them at Bade Mian or you can have them at several other places all around town. And they're nice, but they're sort of they're not the same quality that you would get in Delhi or in Punjab.
If you're from UP, Punjab or Delhi, kebabs are like so well done even by an average place here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you go to Bombay, then I guess you should try the Bombay duck and the thing. So pick one seafood place each, boys.
I think Ghazali was really good for that Bombay duck, right?
Incredible, yeah.
And they of course gave us these. Thanks to your celebrity status, we also ate well. They gave us these huge prawns done in the tandoor, which actually I didn't get a hand on. That was the only time I missed something. Usually I would sneak one out, but it was really well done.
Ria Goretti? Or no?
Oh, that was Mahesh Lunchhome. The Ghazali we ate at, in fact, the first where we shot was the one in Juhu. So it was very posh. We were on the first floor. It was all air conditioned and they had a nice thali. But subsequently, Rocky and I have discovered one which is closer to the airport. And pretty much every time we have like a little extra time, we prefer to leave early and go there and eat a lot of food and then go and pass out on the aeroplane.
But the original Gajali wasn't such a posh place, and I think it's still there. I mean, we've been there, even if not to shoot, but just to eat.
That was in Andheri or someplace, right?
The original Mahesh Lunchhome also has many branches now, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's Vile Parle, the Gajali in Vile Parle. That is somewhere nearer to the airport, I think, unless I'm getting it wrong. But yeah, I think it is the right one. And
That's
they
the
have
humbler
just
place. But yeah, that's the older place too. I think
yeah,
that's the original one.
and they have great food now. I think one of the reasons is that they have a central kitchen where they send out all their spices, etc. from, and of course the preparation is done in each individual restaurant. And that's the great thing here. I mean, when if you're going to get into food and you want to know what makes a place, a chain, sort of food chain succeed, it's somebody has got to have a handle and control on the quality of your spices and ingredients. And if you can get that right, then you can replicate and make as many outlets as you like. And I think they've done that really well. Gajali has successfully transformed themselves through the central kitchen into several eating places, all of the same quality. And it's not easy with this kind of food.
What's your pick for Bombay?
Oh, mine.
Yep.
So, man, you remember we went in Chowpatty and I tried to get Rocky excited. I'm like, this place has 5 different types of khichdi. And then I had to listen to a whole story from him about how lucky he was and how.
Oh, yeah. 5 khichdi. I remember the place.
And then when he went in there, he was like, I'm not missing meat because that Gujarati food, all vegetarian, but what fantastic. Everything from the drinks. I mean, they had like 6 different types of drinks, including the panna and the shikanji.
Yeah, what was it called? What was this place called again?
SOAM.
Yeah. I remember.
They had
Like,
that
so,
biscuit bhakri with the kanda, patata, sabzi. They had fada khichdi. They had they had those vadas, the sabudana vadas. Fabulous food here. That's one of the first 5 places I would go and eat at in Mumbai. Every time I go, and that's big because Mumbai has a lot of great food places.
in fact, the place I really liked in Mumbai was, this is one of the later few years, not the early years. The later few, I think it was not even for Home, for some other show we were shooting. The highway Gomantak, we went in the later years, right? As you were entering. And I remember what I really liked about that, and I knocked down, I think, 3-4 glasses. So my pet liquid se hi bhar gaya. We had a really good, that pink kokum curry hoti hai,
Soul curry.
Soul curry.
Soul curry. So it's this like, it's like I guess the Maharashtrian version of a buttermilk or whatever it is. It's like, but it tastes delicious. And we had a really good one somewhere on the highway. Do you remember this dhaba we stopped at? I don't
At
even remember.
night.
At Aishwarya Rai's village.
Right. This was on our way to Goa. We had stopped at night, and that was the place where we had come across some truckers who were trucking all the way from Lucknow or from UP all the way down to Goa. In those open chassis that they were driving.
Exactly. Yes, correct.
And we took a ride on that also.
Right on that. So that dhaba had amazing kokum, whatever this, sorry, what's it called again?
Soul curry.
Soul curry. And then it is this Gomantak in Bombay, or just outskirts of Bombay, that I really like the soul curry. And they also had some fantastic food that I loved. So I'll never forget my meal there.
Yeah.
Another piece of trivia, that was one of the places where Mayur left his mark by the roadside.
Yeah.
My mask.
I mean, the odd things that I remember, I'm sorry, it's just my memory.
Good for you, man. That's the whole idea. But listen, just to tell everybody, Niku, don't just say soul curry like this in passing. It is a national treasure. It's had all along the Konkan coast, of which Malvan is a part. So all the way from Bombay down to Goa. And soul curry has the skin of the kokum fruit. It's a souring agent used in a lot of cooking. But they do that. They do coconut milk. They put chilies. They put ginger. They put some other spices, and then you get this beautiful digestive drink. I mean, I'll probably get shot for this by somebody, but I even prefer it to the ampanna.
Oh, I definitely prefer it to the ampanna, man. I love it, especially when it's really hot and humid. That's why you can knock down glass after glass. But of course, then Bombay has the Mondega, the Leo's. I'm sure all of you have been there. You've heard of them. So you're not.
In case somebody hasn't, Cafe Mondegar and Leopold are, again, 2 beautiful old places. The old style taste of Bombay, quick, easy, fast food, lots of nice chilled beer, and just the energy of the 1970s, 60s and 70s here. They both remind me of that. So if you ever get down to Mumbai, these are great places. Put them on your list of must-go-to places. So if I was to give you 3 must-go-to places, I'd say Leopold Cafe, the Parsi Dairy, where you must try the kurfi, and Gajali, where you must try the crab.
Fantastic. Yeah, Mondegar, if you just to tell people, just to be able to go, remember he told us a very interesting story. All these walls were painted by Mario Miranda.
Yeah, of course.
So afford that. This was before he became famous. I paid him 50,000 rupees and he spent 8.5 months doing this. And then he had that whole jukebox. And can you imagine how much it would cost to get a mark? Well, now it's priceless. You can't get a Mario Miranda.
Yeah, but 8,000 a month. Well, this must have been in the 50s, 60s, 60s. That must have been a lot of money back in the day, in those days.
Yeah.
And of course, the jukebox, don't forget, the fabulous jukebox
Right.
that still works.
And Leopold's, of course, another favorite of the terrorists. And
Yeah, sadly.
it was very badly hit, very badly hit.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, many people perished there. And I remember that is also one of those cafes which is on that Shantaram tour. Like in Bombay, you can take that Shantaram tour.
Right.
It's also on that. Like Shantaram was that Robert Levy, or what was that Australian fellow's name who moved to Bombay?
Oh, the guy who wrote the book
And,
about
Shantaram, the book.
being a prisoner
Shantaram.
and he was in jail.
Leopold's is also on that tour if you ever do that.
Yeah, or you could do the Rocky and Mayur tour and buy the Have You on My Plate books and go to the places where we've been, because there you'll get some incredible food.
Yep. And now we will head to Kolhapur, but not before we go to the highway dhaba, which is not on the expressway, the Bombay-Pune expressway, but there is a gentleman from Punjab called Tony who has set up a dhaba there. And I will let one of these young gentlemen tell you about Tony the dhaba and the food there. But the sprawling place, huge. He has cages with all sorts of birds, exotic birds. You can get duck there, you can get emu there, you can get, emu egg, which is this huge emerald green egg, which I remember Rocky poured, and I don't think, it tasted that good for me at least. But the beautiful thing about him is that he has a really elaborate kitchen, and everything from quail to emu to chicken, any kind of bird you can think of, he serves it there legally, no endangered species. And we said, what is special? He said, baitho main mangwata hu. And he pretty much ordered everything on the menu. And as you know, we have to pay wherever we go, and because it's just not polite to say that we'll review and we'll eat for free. And when I got the bill, I was like, dude, I didn't even want half this stuff.
Yeah, he had ordered on our behalf like some 9 different kinds of rotis.
Yeah,
and roti, ye
plus
roti, wo
the
roti.
emu,
Birds.
Yeah.
plus an emu, and one plate of emu was like 2,000 rupees or something. So it wasn't cheap, it was expensive, but it's like one of those places that have really caught the imagination of people in the late 90s, early 2000s, which are like sprawling open places with manjis where you could go and get a drink, and there would be a bar and nobody would bother you, and typically they'd be far away from town, so there wouldn't be too many people around, and you could just get onto a manji and eat away through the night and drink your way through an entire evening of having fun, and there would be loud music, and these are like really cool places. These are little oases of where you could find
Which
your
is the
sanity.
closest town near Tony ka dhaba? I mean,
Pune, yeah. Pune
Well,
is
it's in
about 40,
Kamse.
40 odd.
very far from Pune. Yeah, come on. It was
No,
like
it's about 45, 50 kilometers from Pune. Yeah. What
It's-
Mursal is to the Delhiites, Tony ka dhaba is to the Puneites. He was also telling us that all the youngsters, like on the weekends, they come over and they have a beer and they have, they just hang out there. It's such a nice, comfortable, laid out place and wide open space. So they just come to hang out there and go back.
I wonder how the expressway has affected his business.
Well, it hadn't, the expressway was operational even then. And he said people actually take a detour and come on this road. That was the old Bombay-Pune highway, which he was located. So it didn't seem to affect him at all.
And he never served any of the emus from the few emus he had then. For those of you who don't know what an emu is, it's a relative of the ostrich. It's a flightless bird. It's supposed to be, at one time it was a very trendy thing to like eat emu because it was like a bird, but the meat had more taste and more flavor apparently.
Than chicken.
And he had a whole bunch of these emus, and those were not the ones that he was slaughtering. He said, "Nee, ye to mere pets hai." He had another dealer or a supplier from somewhere where he would get the emu meat. So those were just his window models, his mannequins.
Yeah, and he was a real character, because we tried to put him on the shot when he was sitting there, and we were like, "So Tony Paji, aap kab se ye dhaba chala rahe?" And he was like, "Ye dhaba, oh, ye to panch, oh," and we were like, "Okay."
We could not put him for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, and we were like, okay, forget this. Can you talk without abusing? He was like, "मैं गाली दे रहा हूँ पे," and I was like, "हाँ जी, आप गाली दे रहे हो." He was like, "Okay, अब नहीं दूंगा, पक्का नहीं दूंगा." I was like, "Please don't abuse. I won't abuse." Okay. So where is this dhaba? It's 44 kilometers from Pune, and if you take a left, then you'll come here as a. And I was like, "What are you doing, man?" एक line तो बोल दे. And he wasn't able to give us one line for the shoot. Not one line without abusing.
So also he had said the emu meat had become very popular because in the middle there was some problem with
Because of bird flu.
bird flu. So
Yeah.
no one was ordering chicken. So even after the bird flu scare went, because of that whole cough of the bird flu, no one's ordering chicken. So that is when he started serving emu and became very popular. And ever since he's been serving
Yes,
emu.
you should never believe what people like Tony Paji tell you in absoluteness, because he told me, he said, इसमें ना एज ना कोलेस्ट्रॉल नहीं होता बिल्कुल, इसको खाने से बॉडी का कोलेस्ट्रॉल खत्म हो जाता है। I was like, पर बॉडी को कोलेस्ट्रॉल चाहिए होता है? He was like, नहीं, और इसको खाने से ना फैट जल जाती है पूरी बॉडी की, पतला हो जाता है आदमी। I was like, टोनी पाजी, ये किसने बताया आपको? नहीं, मैं बता रहा हूँ। और जो हार्ट पेशेंट होते हैं उनका हार्ट एकदम ठीक हो जाता है ईमू खाने से। ईमू खाया करो रोज। I was like, okay, thank you.
And this was pre WhatsApp era. So you can't
Yeah.
even blame WhatsApp for this information. So now let's get to Kolhapur. Now Kolhapur, we not only had some amazing food, which I will let Mayur tell us because that had the most amazing misal pav we've had. We were also witness just by fluke. For a change, we were at the right place at the right time. I didn't even know this, and I don't think any of us did. They have an auto sundari competition where there's a race which auto rickshaw it does stunts like these two wheel spins, then it races. I was like, amazing stuff. So we will talk about auto sundari, but tell us about the food in Kolhapur. And the chappals I bought from there are still lasting me, and I will tell you why later. Mayo, let's start with misal pav.
Fadtare Misal Pav, the legend. If you remember, it was so popular when we went there. It was like you arrived at either a minister's meeting or a wedding function or something. It was like completely packed. We were standing outside.
Yeah.
In fact, we were standing and waiting. And I still remember there was when that scooter mechanic ran across the road and started speaking to us in Marathi. And then we told him we didn't understand. And in broken Hindi, he said, "Ke main aapka show dekhta hu, mere ko bahut acha lagta hai." And we were like, "But the show's in English." So he said, "मैं आपको देख लेता हूँ, आप हंसते हो, मैं भी हंसता हूँ."
That was such an amazing, beautiful experience. I was such a
The words he used, he said, मैं अपने आपके शो के थ्रू जो हमारे सारे भाई बहन हैं पूरे इंडिया में वो क्या खा रहे हैं, क्या देख रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, उसके थ्रू मैं देखता हूँ तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. And that was just the appetizer before we stepped into Fadtare Misal Pav. It was done up. You remember, it's waiting room only. And then they've got a system where when your turn comes, you go and sit down at these benches side by side. And normally you put 4 to a bench. Of course, there was Rocky, me, and one third guy who managed to squeeze in on the side.
It's basically like it's like a hostel barrack. You know, that's how they just line you up and feed you, line you up and then move. It's
And
bad.
full assembly line system. They have like 20 of those katoris in which they've got the full mix of the misal pav with the save and the sprouted beans and then they have the cut that comes out in baltis, like literally steel baltis from the back. And then they come and even there they give you double roti.
Yep.
No pav, they gave that. And then they put that cut, that oily, spicy cut on top. And oh my God, how delicious was that? Again, it's one of those things you keep eating, you can't stop. Your mouth is on fire, tears are streaming down your eyes. And you're like, bas ek aur kha lo.
Kolhapur is absolutely fantastic. And of course, it's most famous for the Kolhapuri chappals. Everybody knows about them. And we went down to buy the Kolhapuri chappals. And there was a guy who was, there were so many stores selling them. I believe now the industry has taken a big hit because cow leather apparently is a big problem. But I may be wrong. So let us know if any of you know about how the Kolhapur chappal industry is doing. Do let us know. But we went down there and we found this incredible salesman and he got hold of me and he said, "Aapke liye main ye laya hu Sahuji Kolhapuri chappal." And I was like, "Ye kya hai?" And he was like, "Ye Sahuji pehante the isko. Aur ye isme lifetime guarantee hai." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Isko pehen ke agar aap duniya ka ek chakkar lagayenge to isme repair ki zarurat nahi padegi." I was like, "Wow, what a chappal." And he sold those to me, I think at that time for the princely sum of like 1,200 rupees or something. And every time I've worn those Kolhapuri chappals, if there's 100 people at a party where I've gone, 90 of them have come up to me and said, "My God, how beautiful, where did you get these?" And just to let you know, the heel is about an inch high. I mean, it's like an inch and a half thick. It's got layer upon layer upon layer of leather. And there's not a single thread or metal in the entire body of the chappal. It's all woven with leather. So quite an incredible piece of art. I mean, piece of Indian culture. I mean, it's just heritage.
I agree.
Oh,
In
but
fact,
he likes it. 1 इंची का हील रॉकी पूरा हो गया 5 फुट 6 इंच का उसमें.
Can you imagine?
but this Kolhapuri chappal is really amazing. The ones that I also bought, I still have 2 of those pairs and they pound them. Basically, he says why it is. So when they are selling it to you for like an original Kolhapuri chappal from Kolhapur, they bend it all the way and it doesn't break. You see, it will like go right across. It says, so this is pounded, this leather is pounded, then it is folded, then pounded and folded. And it's folded and pounded so many times that it is compact, tight, and yet it's completely flexible. So I'd love to get another consignment of Kolhapuri chappals because I had got 5 at that time. I think I only have like 2 or 3 left. But original Kolhapuri chappal is truly a work of art, and don't underestimate it. It truly is. Some lovely pictures of Rocky wearing Kolhapuri chappals on his face, which I'm looking at right now. So we'll put those in the newsletter. Wherever you listen to this podcast on, below that there'll be a link. It'll open up a form. You can fill that form, and the newsletter will automatically come to you. You would have subscribed. Or you can write into us at homp2020@gmail.com. Give us your food stories, give us your experiences and your feedback. And also you can tell us, we'll put you on the mailing list, or we will send you a link that you can fill in.
Yeah, it's very cool. In fact, a lot of parents in India take their inspiration on how to bring up their children from the Kolhapuri chappals. If you beat them and bend them all the time, then they will become really strong and they will last well. So... that is
At least one time around the world.
Go one time around the world.
I don't know whether this was Suhag or Parvarish of Muqaddar Ka Sikandar, that Amitabh Bachchan had a dialogue where he was like, of course, his usual tough guy. Whenever he want to beat someone up, he'd take off his Kolhapuri chappal. He'd say, "Kaun si chappal?" The guy would say, "Kolhapuri." "Kaun sa number?" "6." And he'd say, "No, padenge, 100. And he'd start beating up the guy with his Kolhapuri chappal. It's a very...
Amitabh Bachchan was like 7 feet tall, had size 9 feet.
The director had told him.
He must have been a Chinese girl when he was young. Yeah,
But other than the Kolhapuri chappal and this, the missile pav, we also, witnessed this entire auto competition or whatever, but we will tell you more about it in the newsletter. We will not tell you so much about it right now. So we'll send you pictures in the newsletter and we'll give you little episodes about that.
Yeah, but it's incredible. I mean, you just have to visualize thousands of people, hundreds of autos, absolute pandemonium, and lots of tutaris going off in the background with drums and nagaras. And what a place to be! What energy! I mean, Kolhapur is just comes alive at places like this. But that is a surprise. We'll tell you about it then.
And what is this Babu Bhai Bhel who makes a bhel every
day?
day?
You don't remember?
This man, it was amazing to watch him. He was like in flow. You see a person who's like his muscles were like just tuned to make bhel puri, and he was doing that at like an incredible speed. And I remember Ajay went behind the counter. He found his way sort of to go behind him to shoot him from that side, to him making bhel puri, and his hands were moving so fast. Ajay looked at me and said, "Sir, मैं इसका क्या करूं? मैं focus कहाँ करूं? इसके हाथ ही पता नहीं कहाँ हैं." Then we told him कि अच्छा आप रुकिए, ऐसे यहाँ पे हाथ लेके आइए. Then he took focus and then he started. He was incredible, and he always had a smile on his face. Never flustered. There were like so many people just standing in a queue and patiently waiting for their turn. And the bhel puri was yum. It was just
his father who had started it. The father was called Raja Bhau. And it's in this little narrow street in Kolhapur, which has a lot of street food places. I mean, they have your Indian, Chinese and samosa and this and that. But you ask anybody where Raja Bhau's stall is, and he has the corner thing. He's called Babu. And he was at the back, and he opens, I think, at 6 in the evening and goes till 2 o'clock in the morning. And he
non-stop.
He's standing there. And if you remember, Niku, try and remember, he was bouncing. And we asked him, "Why do you keep bouncing?" Because he said, "I stand for 10, 12 hours every day. My back starts hurting. So I just have to keep moving." And he had his son and a couple of other people. He had all these boxes, and they were just chopping onions and coriander and this and trying to put it in there. And he was just making it, wrapping it up in newspaper, handing it, taking the money with his little beatific smile on his face, completely shanti.
Okay, I think I know the guy you're talking about. I just saw his picture.
Yeah, and not just one kind of bhel puri. He was doing several kinds.
Yeah, he was a machine. He was a machine. And this is what people don't realize about the greatness of the street food of India. It is one of the most magnificent cuisines in the world, because it can't be just prepared and kept ready. It has to be prepared on the spot, right from scratch. If you cut an onion and leave it for even 5 minutes, the smell becomes powerful and the taste just goes. If you put save and then you put chutney on it, becomes mushy and soft within 2 or 3 minutes. Everything has to be done from scratch and has to be fresh. So the onion has to be chopped fresh, the potato has to be chopped fresh, the coriander has to be chopped fresh, the chutney has to be put on last second, the mix has to be done right there and then. So every time you make a bhel, you're actually starting a process from 0 and going to like 15, where you're putting a masala, this or that, and everything is done there. And that's the way with most Indian street food. I mean, even with chola bhaturas, you'll get your cholas, which take hours and hours and hours to cook. But your bhaturas have to come fresh, otherwise you'll never get that taste. You'll not enjoy them. And that is why there are lines at street food counters, because these are just such great foods. They are cooked and eaten, cooked and eaten. They can't be prepared and kept here.
While we have, the tambda rasa and the pandra rasa and the bhakri and the singhada and onion chutney and so much the sham.
Sing Dada.
But there's so many things that we have to do in Kolhapur, but we are like way running behind schedule. So we'll only have time for one more thing, which I may suggest can be the Chateau Indage. Because let's also leave them, कि भाई हमने cultural experience भी किया महाराष्ट्र में, which was a complete fluke discovery for us. We shall tell you about that. And we have some of our most beautiful, cultured looking Rocky and Mayur photographs from there, which we will put in the newsletter. But before that, I had a couple of emails. This one is from Sumit. Hey folks, great job on the podcast. It is so epic to relive the days of Homp with the four of you. And now that I know Abhinandan is also associated with Homp, double respect for News Laundry. By the way, I just recently signed up for the Homp newsletter, so I only have issues from episode 13 onwards. How do I see the rest of the content? Is it possible at all for you to put the content into the respective episode pages on the website? That way it will be browsable and archived for posterity on the internet. For the day when aliens visit 2000 years hence and want to unarchive our food history. Also, it's a great revelation that Rocky is a birder. I probably don't have as much patience for twitching and wouldn't spend too much time identifying wobbles and pipits. But this discovery made me think, shouldn't Rocky do a show on the biodiversity areas of India? Would be quite a show, methinks. With his ready wit and imposing presence, he'd make a very relatable host. Also, he does look a little like a bird. No, I added that myself. That was my addition. I'd happily offer myself as a photographer on the set. Just saying, he sent his Instagram link. Socially distanced hugs to all of you, and thanks News Laundry for keeping news independent, Sumit. Thank you, Sumit, for your love and for this email, man. Rocky, come start.
Yeah. And we're very happy. We've made Abhinandan famous through the country. Nobody knew him. So now, of course, no, I don't know which way it is, but either way it works for both of us because he's making us famous. People didn't know that we were associated with him. It's like, having a child grow up and say, instead of, "Tu Mukesh ka baap hai," people will say, "Tu..." How does it go?
"Tu Mukesh ke neighbor ka baap."
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. I meant it in a good way. So, no, I would love to do it. In fact, if any of you guys are on Instagram or Twitter, you can find me on my handle, which is Ornithophile. ORNITHOPHILEIND on Instagram, and ORNITHOPHILEI on Twitter. So Ornithophile I on Twitter and Ornithophile in on Instagram. It's a little complicated, the name. You may not remember it, but you'll find me from my bird.
We'll just put it on this newsletter. So you would have signed for the newsletter. We'll put a link of both Rocky's birding Instagram and Twitter, so you can follow him there.
Yes, and I have many traits of birds. Yeah. I mean, I have an eagle eye. I have fingers like talons. I have a nose like a beak. I have a heart like an eagle. I have feathers. No, I don't have feathers actually.
Don't lie. I saw you dancing in that new outfit you got.
I have a tail also.
A tail as well.
Tejas says lots of love to you all for creating happiness. And he says he listens to all the podcasts and he loves what we guys do. So thanks, Tejas. Thank you, gentlemen, for writing in. You can write in to us at homp2020@gmail.com and share your food experiences, any stories you'd want to tell about traveling around this country. Because until you can get to the highway, we will bring the highway to you through this highway on my podcast. And now we shall take you to this place, which, Prashant, why don't you tell us where it was and the gentleman can tell us what it was like, their cultural experience.
So this was between Nasik and Pune. And I think the area is, it's that Nasik-Pune highway. Narayangaon. Narayangaon is the exact location where the Indage, the Chateau Indage, has their vineyard and their...
Very nice highway, I remember. And it was good weather for a change. We got evening time.
It was a beautiful road too. It was a beautiful road. And it's a really nice, beautiful place that they've set up there. I wonder if they still have it.
So it's basically a vineyard. So they grow the grapes and they make wine and have this tasting thing. And that time, I think it was just for $500, you got to taste like 6 kind of wines.
Yeah. No, this is very typical. In fact, a lot of places in wine country all over the world, to make wine drinking more popular amongst people, they have samplers as you drive past all these areas, and a lot of wine produced in that Nasik, Pune sort of area, Chateau Indulge being one of the vineyards. So they put out their best wines, and for 150 rupees, you can get a wine tasting of 3 of their white wines and 3 of their red wines for another 150. So all you have to do is like pay. No, I think it's 6 for 150. 3 white, 3 red.
But that we
So
are talking, Rocky, we're talking like 10, 12 years ago. I'm sure it won't be
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So 150 rupees for six tastings, and you would get all the locals coming in there who had developed a taste for wine and found that they liked it. So as soon as we drove in, there were these 3 guys sitting with the Gandhi caps and their dhotis and kurtas, and they were sitting outside and smoking bidis and drinking wine. And we were like, man, that is such a cool visual here. So lovely to be there in that place.
So it's also a really nice place physically just to chill out and sit. If the weather's good, at the back they have where the actual grapes are grown, so you can actually go for a walk there. The guy takes you, and there are these low, I mean, you have to bend over, and there are these low places where the वो बेल होता है ना, बेल कहते हैं ना उसको, जहाँ grow करती है वो.
It's called a grapevine.
It's called a grape. अरे वाह.
पढ़ा लिखा?
वाह यही फायदा होता है इंग्लिश बोलने वाले दोस्तों का, यही फायदा होता है इंग्लिश वालों का.
Because unlike you, where you went to a dhaba and had wine on that Narayangaon highway, I went to the Fratelli in Sholapur, the Fratelli vineyard, which is really beautiful. It's like set up like something out of this world. It's like literally, and you can go and stay there. You can spend a few nights there and get a tour of the vineyard. And
that sucks. Okay, the Chateau Indulge one is much prettier.
Yes.
and they cook special meals for you in the evening where you can sort of pair their wine with that meal and so on. So it's very posh.
यार हमें नहीं चाहिए ये प्रधान को हमारे पॉडकास्ट पे. निकालो आगे.
Mayur, since all these are just bluffing their way through it, you are the true wine connoisseur and the most cultured out of all this Punjabi foursome. So why don't you tell us what was the wine like, and was it genuinely good?
It was
Or were we just, champagne? Were we being like Amitabh Bachchan naam? थोड़ा हराया फ्रांस में थोड़ा हरा जाता फिर कहता champagne.
When we wrote our books for I Were on My Plane, we even very carefully, we had to think a long time before writing this about saying that still the wine industry in India is young, and back then 12, 13 years ago, it was even younger. They were not very nice wines. They were getting, I don't even know Chateau Indulge exists anymore. Fratelli, and now of course there are some companies and vineyards that are doing, some labels that are doing good wine. My favorite actually in India is something that comes out of Hampi. It's called Chrisma. It's very hard to get. But that Chateau Indulge wine wasn't very nice. But the whole experience of just sitting down there and
I loved it. It was such a lovely. मुझे तो बड़ी wine पसंद आई. It was better than having Rocky's Talisker with Coke.
But yeah, I don't think the Chateau Indulge. I haven't seen their wines at the local wine shop, but Fratelli is very much there. And I don't know what is this name that you took from Karnataka?
Chrisma.
Chrisma.
Who are the guys who made that champagne? Yeah, they made a really nice champagne. What is that? Chateau Indulge.
The Marquis de Pompadour that used to come.
Yeah.
Oh, that was, I don't know. I don't remember who it was, but that was really good sparkling wine.
Yeah, that was good sparkling wine, man. What was it? Marquis de Pompadour. You're right. It was sparkling wine. And that's really good. I haven't seen one around for a long time, but I haven't looked for one. I don't drink champagne anymore.
It's gone. It's not made anymore.
How tragic. I bet a bottle would be expensive now. Do bottles get more expensive if the vineyard shuts down, Mayur?
Yes.
Only if it's a good one. Not because it shut down because it was shit. Then it doesn't get
No, it's like India. As soon as somebody dies, suddenly everybody is like, what a wonderful man. What a lovely woman. What great deeds they did. They were so nice and caring. I remember when they fed a dog in the rain once in 1978. And when they're alive, they're like, what a shithead. What a complete dope. So it's like that. Yeah. So, now if it's not around anymore, please say nice things about them. Yeah. Prashant, come on, say it was better than the one
Mark Antony says, the good that men do the evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar.
Wow. One wine specialist, one quoting the classics. And
Yeah.
one who has been to a fancy vineyard and eaten good food there. I'm in exalted company with you three.
But we are way out of time. In fact, we're way over time.
Very quickly, Rocky's right. It was Mr. Chogle at Chateau Indaz that made the Marquis de Pompadour, and that was a really good. That was a good wine. All the wines we had there were not that good, but that sparkling wine was fantastic.
But we will have to leave the Lonavla Chikki Heaven and the Atvan Poha Center at Sangamer and Ratnagiri and Chiploon and all these maybe for another episode. We have to wind up this one because we're out of time. So before we give you the food court, I would like to urge all of you to subscribe to this newsletter. Tell your friends about Highway on our podcast. We're trying to build a community of people who value travel, who value the beautiful landscape that India offers, the beautiful food it offers. And once this lockdown is lifted and things are back to normal, we will get Rocky, Mayur and Prashant back on the road and we'll give it a title like Rocky and Mayur Ride Again. And we shall bring you the most comprehensive and amazing food, travel and fun show and hopefully stop along the way so that we can have little get-togethers of patrons who will make this show happen. So we will evolve this idea as we go forward. But before we say goodbye and take you to another state in the next episode of Highway on a Podcast, let's give you guys the food court, gentlemen.
And just quickly before we do the food court, because we've not covered a lot of the places, we must mention that Maharashtra has a beautiful and very varied coastline with some fantastic beaches that are like practically deserted and some fabulous fresh seafood along a lot of these places. Great food influences, some real powerhouses of like at least cuisine along that, Gomantak just being one of them. So if somebody has the time and effort to drive down that coast, they'll find some beautiful beaches and some beautiful just eating.
Yeah, I hope we're going to do another episode on Maharashtra that will tell you more about the food.
There's too much left. We'll have to come back.
Good. So we'll do another one, and when we get back to it, we'll tell you more. And but it's been wonderful. But I just want to point out that Maharashtra is another one of those states that I really love because of just the energy of the people there. I mean, people are by and large really nice and gentle and caring and sweet. Of course, there's a new breed of intolerant, insane zombies walking around, which we're not going to talk about. But by and large, the people of Maharashtra are just really welcoming and really connected to the heritage. And if you go to the temples, if you go to the places of worship, if you go to the markets, you see this unbroken tradition and history that they carry in their hearts. And the Ganpati is, of course, incredible to watch. Just music, art, culture, everything is fantastic in Maharashtra. So more in the next episode. Pakka.
So food court, who's going first?
Oh, okay, I'll go first. I don't like champagne. I like drinks that are malted. I'm so lucky to hang around with these three and company that is exalted.
Arey Baba.
How can we disagree with that?
Mayur, your turn.
Bhakris, thechas and bhelpuri at Raja Bhav. In Mumbai, they have a fish that they call duck. Don't ask me why and don't ask me how.
Okay, Mayur is back.
Wow.
Maharashtra's highways are awesome drives, but Mumbai के ट्रैफिक में हम अटक ले अब और मेरा भेजा ना खाओ आका माजी सटक ले.
Wow. Prashant, you're coming out with what?
Well, I want to give you guys a challenge.
Okay.
I'm going to say 2 lines. It's a haiku, and you guys complete it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see who does a better job.
Okay, done.
When Rocky and Mayur rumble, Kayani strawberries crumble.
Wow.
We can't say anything good about ourselves because we're very good looking and humble.
Sorry, we stumble.
If you crack the egg and put it in hot oil, you will get rumble tumble.
Okay, Mayur, you win this one.
On that note, see you guys. Good night, good morning, good afternoon. Have a great day wherever you are. Stay safe. I won't say stay indoors because the lockdown is being lifted in many parts. But wherever you go, make sure you maintain hygiene. Stay well, stay safe, because when we guys get on the road, we'd like to have little get-togethers where we can meet as many of you as possible who would make this show happen. And wherever you are, if you can do anything for the people on the ground who may not have enough food to eat, migrant labor, get involved with NGOs or volunteer groups in your city, in your area, so you can make sure no one should starve in our country, especially when so many of us have so much.
Inshallah.
Ciao. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody. And remember, hygiene is important because low jeans means your butt cleavage shows.
हमको मिलने आओगे तो धोके आना.
Okay, bye. Good night.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.